Well, friends, we are blessed today. I am so excited for this message. It's going to be incredible. We are joined by someone who is an incredible communicator. They are an amazing visionary. They are a huge advocate for the church and for being the church that Jesus called us to be. He is the founding pastor of Bayside up in Sacramento. He is a world-renowned author, and he has taken time out of his busy schedule to come and talk to us about raising godly kids. So can you give a big old Shelter Cove welcome to Pastor Ray Johnson?
All right, thank you. Hey, first of all, thanks for that really nice introduction. It is so great to be overrated, and I am really glad to be here. Is there anybody here for the first time? Anybody here for the first time? Good. Hey, welcome. If you're here for the first time, welcome to the church in America with the only pastor who actually makes The Rock look like a whip. Jeremy is unbelievable, okay? And so I'm really happy to be here. My name is Ray Johnson. Carol is my wife's right over there. And I want to ask you, I'm going to come out swinging. Y'all ready? Okay. And so what I want to do is this. I want to have you grab the message notes if you've got those message notes. And the theme is raising G-rated kids in an X-rated world. And the reason I'm gonna actually have a whole bunch of points to make. I'm gonna check in with you occasionally, and I'm gonna go, "Are you still with me?" Okay, and you will say yes. You ready to practice this? Okay, it's got to be really loud. Number one, are you still with me? Yes. Good. If your husband's falling asleep, wake him up. Make him say yes. Okay. My wife Carol and I were living in Chicago years ago. We had 2 boys. Thought we were done having kids, and then she contracted pregnancy a 3rd time. And I was a professor at a university, so I went to teach a class. I come back. She goes to find out if it's a boy or a girl, because we're hoping for one or the other. And so she goes to find out. I go teach. I come home. I'm all like, okay, she's not home yet. So finally, I hear her come in the front door. I run in front. I go, boy or girl? And she goes, we better go in the back bedroom. I'm thinking, that's how we got here in the first place, but good with me. So we go in the back bedroom. She goes, you better sit down. I sit down on the edge of the bed, and she goes, you ready? And I go, yeah, boy or girl? She hands me a packet. I open it up. It's double mint chewing gum. And I look at her and I go, she goes, and we have identical, can't tell them apart twin daughters, okay? Which meant we had 4 kids under 4. Hey, yeah. It was like having multiple bowling lanes installed in my mind, okay? A quick question. How many of you have kids, okay? We're parents. How many got, way out, hands way up, okay? Okay, hands down. How many of you have young kids like, 5 and under? Where are you? Well, keep them up. Look around, people. They're all tired. And they're here for one reason, free childcare, okay? How many have kids that are like somewhere between 6 and 12? Where are you? Okay, kind of a cool age group. You'll end up in the hospital with a bunch from breaking bones, okay? How many of you, do we have anybody here? You're a parent of a teenager. We have a prayer meeting afterwards. How many of you here, you've got kids in college age kids? Yeah, that gets expensive, doesn't it? Would the ushers please come forward? And how many are going, we raised kids and now they're gone? See, they always cheer for themselves, okay? How many of you are going, no, we raised kids, they're gone, but now they're back. Anybody got those kids? Yeah, we had those. He's pointing to you, dude. By the way, this is going to be a really good message for him. On the way home, you should look. How many of you have parents in here? You're sitting with your parents. Good. On the way home, just look at them and say, that was a really good message. You really needed it to your parents, okay? Got it, bro? All right. And so here's why I'm here, and here's what I'm concerned about. I am actually working on a 3-book project because what's going on in California, pretty much the 3 C's, what's going on in our culture, what's going on in our country, and what's going on in the state of California is very destructive to kids. Our educational system in California, we got great teachers, okay? However, we have a government that is trying to turn schools into indoctrination instead of education, okay? And so what's going on is this. the old way of parenting, which worked for 400 years in America, has been thrown right out because for 400 years, parents were able to prepare the road for the child and control the schools and control all this kind of stuff. Those days are gone, people, which means we have got to switch parenting strategies. We have got to prepare kids for any road they're ever on to handle anything that was ever thrown at them. So they actually raise, and they're people that you can be proud of, where they got character, they got integrity, they got values, and they're not wimps, and they can stand up to anything. Got that? Okay. And so what happened is this, and matter of fact, if you want more information on this, on the bottom of this, all you have to do is text G-rated to 56316. Myself and a team of people, matter of fact, it starts Monday and Tuesday. Well, I've been writing a book called Raising G-Rated Kids in an X-Rated World. That first book, it will go global in about 6 months. And the whole book is about this 7 storms hitting every kid and parent and family in America, and 7 strategies to how to counteract all those storms. Book 2 is 5 things that need to be built into every kid for them to turn out to be people you're proud of. And the last book is the most fun, okay? And it looks like Dad might already be. How to become the parent your kids actually want to be around, which to me is the key of everything, because nobody is going, Mom and Dad are Christians. They're idiots. They're jerks. I can't stand them. Oh, I want their faith. Make sense? So those 3 things, if you text G-rated to 56316, okay, you will then get updates on this project that goes out, because we're doing curriculum, we're doing small groups, we're doing a book, we'll do a video online stuff, and probably do a conference on it when it kicks off, okay? So if you're interested in that, I want to start with this, okay? If you've got your message notes out there, I want to start with this. By the way, our kids are all grown now. We got kids, we got grandkids. In fact, 2 of our 4 kids are now out of prison, so we're feeling a lot better as parents. Now, Psalm 127 on the top of your outline says this: children are a gift from the Lord. Children are gifts, not punishments. Okay, then it says this. This is the best thing ever written on being a parent. It says they are like what? They are like arrows. So we're supposed to go, our kids are arrows. What do you do with an arrow? Shoot them, okay? Now, what do you do? You do, by the way, if you're taking notes, write this down. What do you do with an arrow? Number 1, the first thing you do is aim it. You provide direction. The first word is direct. The first thing you do is you provide direction. Primary role of parent, provide what? Direction, okay? Then what do you do? So you aim it, then what do you do? Come on, y'all had coffee. What do you do? You provide motivation, because if all you do is provide direction and let it go, it falls at your feet and never moves out. Okay. And so you provide direction, then you provide motivation, and then you what? Release. That's parenting. Direction, motivation, release. I'm gonna have you sit out with me because I want you to never forget. First you provide direction, then you provide, and then you release. Okay, now here's the problem: all parents are really good at the first. Matter of fact, parents are the direction kings of the universe. And if you're a Christian, it's worse, because not only do we have all the other directions, we got a 66 book of more directions to pound into them. Okay, and the problem is this: when they get to be a teenager and they stop listening to directions, we just yell them louder, which doesn't work. Okay, we're great at direction, and almost all parents eventually are good at release. Okay, because you have to. They're leaving. The problem is this: so many broken-hearted parents are going, man, I raised my kids with high hopes they would go in great directions, and they didn't. What happened? It was because we didn't think through motivation. How do you motivate kids so that when they're not around you, they are internally motivated to have character, integrity, and stand up to almost anything else, okay? And so this message, I'm going to talk fast. I'm going to check in with you. I'm trying to right now. Are y'all still with me? Okay, good. I've got like a bunch of points. So the first start of this is this. It is barriers. How to turn kids off in 5 easy steps. Okay, I spoke at a conference one time. It was in the Midwest, kind of this arena, and it was teenagers, and this woman was leading off, and then I was the speaker after her, okay? I watched this. You got thousands of teenagers in there. She gets up and does this. Now, young people, what do you think happened? They were all like, they all tuned her off, okay? There are things that if we do them, turn kids off fast. What are they? Here's the antidote. Number one is do not lose your cool. If you're a parent, do not lose your cool. Matter of fact, teenagers, when they're teenagers, they're great at making mom explode, okay? They have their friends over. They push a button. Watch this. Boom. Mom explodes, okay? Do not lose your cool. I'll give you a great example of a parent that did. I flew into Seattle, got picked up by this really fun couple, and we're driving to it, and we're driving downtown Sacramento, and I'm speaking at a conference there, and we're laughing and talking, and the mom stops at the stoplight in downtown Seattle, and she says, "Here's where it happened." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I was here about 3 weeks ago with my teenage daughter. My teenage daughter is 17. She's too cool for life and all this stuff." And so she goes, I look out the window and I see something and I go, "Honey, duck," grab her, push her down, throw a newspaper over her and speed down the street. She's down. "What? Somebody have a gun? What?" And so they pull up like 3 blocks later. They pull over and she goes, "Okay, you can get up now." Takes the newspaper. Her daughter comes up and she goes, "What happened? Was there what in the world?" And the mom said this is classic. She said, "I'm sorry, honey. I looked out the window and saw one of my good friends and I couldn't bear to be seen with my teenage daughter." Is that awesome or what? Okay. The number one is this: do not lose your cool. Number two is this: do not delay living until they turn age 18. Don't delay. I know so many parents are going, "Oh no, they just became a teenager. And here's parents, and I'm going to be as on task. I'm going to be as uptight as I need to be. I'm going to be as miserable as I need to be. I'm going to be as on their back as I need to be so that they will be attracted to my faith and values." This just doesn't work. Don't delay living. Matter of fact, if you're taking notes, write this down. Try to live a life that your kids actually envy. Then they're going to want to follow in your footsteps. Okay? Try to live a life kids envy. Do stuff and help them participate with it. For example, a few years ago, my wife had one of those marker birthdays, started with a 4, ended with a 0. Okay. And so I was like, I'm going to try to pull off a party. And I had my 4 kids help me plan it. I was like, "Hey, look, I really want mom, have a great birthday. Let's try to pull off a surprise party." And what we did was this: we live up in Sacramento. Anybody here been to Bodega Bay? Oh, it's gorgeous, man. $1 million homes on golf courses, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. They got hot tubs. Just God's will to go there. So without Carol ever knowing, my kids and I kind of planned this thing out. I rent a killer home on the golf course for the weekend, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And I contact her 6 best friends from all around America: Boston, Seattle, SoCal. And then I plan this thing out and I get them all. She never found out. I get them all to fly in for that weekend. They all go to that house. They're all at that house. Well, I get up early. We get up early. We drive out to Bodega Bay. We play 18 holes of golf. And then at the end, we go out. We have a really early dinner. And then I go, "Hey, before we go home, let's just drive through this neighborhood. This is gorgeous." We pull by this house and I kind of slow down. And I kind of stop and I go, "I think that's a rental house." She goes, "That's really nice. We should rent that sometime." I said, "I agree." And then I pull one home in front of them. I stop and I pull over and I go, "Hey, let's just get out and look at it." She goes, "Okay." So we get out, we're standing there. And then I take her hand so she can't get away. Is it bad? And I go, "Let's go knock on the door and see if they'll let us see the house." And I drag her to the front door and I knock on the door. And the door starts open and she's getting ready to give her, "I'm sorry, my husband's an idiot" speech. We'll go. Any of you wives know about this speech? And so we knock, they open the door and her best friends from all around the country yell, surprise! I mean, pandemonium breaks out. They're hugging each other, they're laughing, they're crying, doing all this chick stuff. And while all this stuff's going on, I go out to the car because I packed for her without her knowing. Well, that was interesting. And so I packed for her, and then I bring the luggage in, I bring tennis rackets in, I walk in and I go, hey, honey, I'm going home. I got the kids all weekend long. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I got this. I'm going to go hang out with the kids. And I said, here's an envelope full of money. Go out to dinner, go shopping, go to shows, spend the $70 however you want. And it felt so good to drive away. And my kids and I got to plan out something that was crazy fun for my wife. By the way, if you're a married man, would you raise your hand? Married guys, where are you? Guys, say your hands way up, way up. Okay, good. Let me just ask you this question. When's the last time you spent the same amount of time, money, creativity, energy, and effort planning something to make your wife feel spectacular as you did your last business thing? Never mind. Moving right along. Number 1, do not lose your cool. Number 2 is don't delay living. Number 3 is this: do not let your teenagers intimidate you. Teenagers are great at intimidating adults. Matter of fact, we're on teenagers. We have 1 billion teenagers at Bayside. They're always like, oh man, it's finals week. Last night, I pulled an all-nighter. And a lot of our age, all-nighter means sleeping through the night without having to get up to go to the bathroom. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay. They're intense. Matter of fact, one social scientist said this: America has been taken over by idiots. He said, we're the first culture in human history where the elders of the tribe look to its youngest members for the standards of behavior and what they should be. How dumb is this? Okay, it's crazy. And so do not let them intimidate you. The other day, I heard about these 2 5-year-old kids are in the backyard and on a patio. And one 5-year-old kid says, hey, the other day, I found a condom on the patio. And the other 5-year-old kid said, what's a patio? That's what our culture and California and our country are doing to kids. They're they're getting way too much information, way too early about all this crazy stuff. Make sense? Okay. And the problem is this: we're now raising a generation of teenagers in America that are highly sophisticated, but not mature. And that's not a good recipe. Okay. Number 1, don't lose your cool. Don't delay living. Don't let them intimidate you. Number 4 is do not rescue them from consequences. Do not rescue them from consequences like almost all Hollywood parents do. Don't rescue. I had a lady come talk to me about her teenager one time. I knew this kid, cool kid, sophomore named Mike. Okay. She comes in and she goes, my son is driving me crazy. I need help. And I said, what? Here's direct quote. Every day he leaves his lunch at home, and every day I have to drive it to school for him. Is this nuts? I look at her. I made up a statistic. I said, science shows that it takes 283 days of missing lunch for a teenage sophomore to die of starvation. And here's the problem is, at some point, nobody does well in life until they figure that actions have consequences. Okay. And so she was raising a kid to make sure that none of his actions had any consequences. So later on, why not screw your life up? Why not do drugs, et cetera, et cetera? Because evidently actions that's a connection that has to, do not rescue them. And then the last one is this: do not underestimate the power of a positive parent, and add this in: do not underestimate the power of a positive, powerful God. I'm going to give you an example. If you are 21 or under, stay seated. But this can be fun. If you're over 21, stand up if you're able. Okay? So if you're over 21, stand up if you're able. And this is church. So raise your hand and say, I promise to play this game honestly. Go ahead. Okay, here we go. Okay, watch. And if you're under this, watch this. Okay? If you were ever sent home from school or kicked out of a church event because of misbehavior, sit down. Bam, there goes Dad. Okay, if you drank alcohol in high school, sit down. Oh, and you're sitting next to Dad. Very impressive, okay? If you could not name the first 5 books of the Old Testament when you were in high school, sit down. Watch this. If someone in church said, every head bowed, both eyes closed, you kept one or both eyes open and peeked, sit down. Okay, well, stay standing. Watch this. All I do in church with 1,000 people is read 4 simple sins, and the only 5 people left standing are all pathological liars. Can we have a round of applause for them? So, good job. Here's what I want to say, folks. The same God that had to work in your life is just as powerful now as he has ever been. Make sense? That's why all Christian parenting messages should be guilt-free. Watch this. Anybody here ever felt guilty as a parent? Every hand's got to go up, okay? But you know why? Okay? Because God gave them free will. And the problem is when you're in church, they make it worse. How are your kids doing? Fine. When do they get on parole? You know, and here's what I want to say to you. God himself had 2 perfect children, put them in a perfect environment. They still screwed their lives up. So if God couldn't get this right, give yourself a break and get off the guilt train. Everybody got that? Because guilt does not help you go to any great place or become better at anything. Make sense? Okay. Now, before we go on, I want to say this. The real key is this: avoiding these barriers. Second is right at the bottom of that page. I want you to take a look at this. Okay. Second is parent with a plan. You got to know. And so there are 5 things that if you will build them into your kids will lead to a much better future. Okay. And here they are. They're the 5 C's. The first one is what? It is confidence, okay? Confidence is high self-esteem. Most kids who have low self-esteem get driven into 4 kinds of destructive behaviors. They're a mess. So number 1 is confidence. Second one is what? Convictions. That's deep inner core convictions that I will take a stand for, okay? Confidence, inner convictions. And then the third one is character, okay? Now, character is inner convictions lived out. Convictions are the foundation for character. Make sense? And that, by the way, but one of the things I love about this church is your pastor is a really good Bible teacher. He's got deep convictions. And too many churches, they don't actually build convictions into their teenagers. They just teach them how to act like they have character around church, but on Friday or Saturday night or when they go away, it's a whole different ballgame, okay? Confidence, conviction, character. Promise, lots of Christians stop right there. What do? I want to build confidence. I want to build convictions. I want to build character, and boom, that's it. That's why there's so many Christian jerks around, because they stop there. The fourth one is what? Compassion. Love God, love people. And it doesn't stop there. The last one is also a big deal, and it is competence. Finding out what God has made them great at so they can get a really good job and support their parents someday. But you got that? So the question is this: how do you build those 5 things into today's generation? Glad you asked. Are y'all still with me? Good, here we go. Now, here we go. How do you build those 5 things? Number 1 is this: you start with stability. Number 1 is you start with stability. Why do you do that? Because teenage kids and teen are changing so much. Any stability you can give them is going to be a really, really good thing. Now, there are 3 stages. I'm going to give you a little mini adolescent development course. How do kids turn out the way they turn out? Here it is. It's going to go on the screen. There's 3 different phases of growing up. And here, discovery, testing, and conclusions. Discovery, testing, and that's the 3 stages to growing up. And they go through it twice. You went through it if you're an adult. You're going through it if you're below that. It's 3. And if you're looking at this thing going, discovery. Phase 1 discovery is this: from 0 birth, think about it, say, birth to about age 6. Anybody got kids between birth and 6? Okay, good. They're in a time of discovery. It's crazy. Fingers, toes, mom, dad, talking, the world, all this kind of stuff. Think about the amount of things they discover in the first 6 years. Like, staggering, isn't it? So they spend about 6, maybe 7 years in discovery. Then from about age 7 or 8 to about age 12, they go from discovery to what? Testing. What are they testing? All the stuff they've previously discovered, okay? And like, what happens if I take this fork and stick it in the wall sprocket? I'm going to test it. What happens if I ride my bike into the pool? What happens if I ride my bike off the roof? What happens if I punch my sister? Whatever it is, okay? They're testing. Anybody here got kids that age and been in the hospital? They break a ton of bones. Why? Because they are in the testing phase. And then about age 10, if you want to write this stuff down, roughly about age 9, 10, somewhere in there, they move into full childhood. It's awesome. Matter of fact, one adolescent development expert said this: the happiest people in America are all 10 years old. The happiest people in America. Okay, anybody see the debate this week? Anybody watching that debate going, we're all in trouble? Okay, no 10-year-old was sitting there going, oh no, we're in trouble. They're the happiest people in the world, okay? Matter of fact, 10 years old. Dad's still cool. Mom's still cool. A 10-year-old, they can be at home on Friday night, no date. They don't care. Yeah. The happiest, most secure people in the world are all 10 years old. Parents, anybody here going, oh, I wish I could have just stopped the whole thing at 10 and kept them that way forever? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay. And now, here's the problem: is they're the happiest people in the world, age 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. And then one tragic thing happens. Puberty hits and wham, wipes the whole thing out. And the problem is this: they have come in on the trapeze and they have arrived at full childhood. Can they move to instant adulthood like that? No, they go through the same 3 processes to become a fully functioning adult as they did to become a fully functioning child. So they go back and they start with what? Discovery. That's kind of like junior high, middle school age. I mean, antenna are out and they're discovering my body's changing, all of this kind of stuff. That's why kids that age, they're up, down, up, down. I mean, she's got, junior high, she's got a boyfriend at breakfast, breaks up at noon, new one by dinner. No problem. They're in a time of discovery, okay? Now, that doesn't last because about age 14 or 15 to about 18 or 80, they move into testing. And now, question, teenage years, what are they testing? Everything. Mom, dad, rules. Dad says, be home at midnight. Kid comes home Tuesday just to test what's going to happen, okay? And then what happens is about age 18 or 80, they draw conclusions and move into full child, which means knowing what's happening each stage is a really, really important thing. Make sense? Okay. Number 1 is this: start with stability because they are going through so many changes. Okay. Number 2 is this: cultivate close connection. Cultivate close connection. I'll never forget this. We're in the hospital in Chicago and we're in the hospital in Marin with our first son, Mark, and I'm holding Mark. And he's crying, I'm crying, and I look down, hey man, I love you. By the way, your name's Mark. And I realize, holding this kid, and I realize something's happened to me. Like, matter of fact, happened to Dad. I'm looking at him and go, I've only known you for like 30 seconds and I would die for you right now. And I'm just overwhelmed by this. And then I make a horrible mistake. I blink. And when my eyes open back up, he was getting on a school bus to go to school. And I blinked again, and I was dropping him off at college. It happens that fast, doesn't it? And because it happens that fast, it's basically going, I've got to take as much time as I can get and build close connections. Why? Because rules without relationship lead to rebellion. Because rules without relationship lead to rebellion. It's the myth of quality time. Every one of your kids has an emotional bank account with you. And when I spend time with them, encourage them, et cetera, that's gold, okay? That's putting money in the bank. And when I have to say no about something or have a hard conversation about something or do any disciplines about something, that's taking money out of the bank and I get in real trouble where there's nothing in the bank. I'm taking money out of it. Here's another example. We have these twin daughters, okay? I know enough to go, most girls get the inner way they look at life from the opposite sex parent. And I always say this, most girls, with the way you view yourself from the opposite sex parent, if some of you had a dad who was cold, distant, or disappearing, okay, I am really sorry, okay? Matter of fact, I have a book called Hope Quotient. Go read it 15 times, and because raise everything in your life, because that is a tough thing to overcome. And I realized I've got these daughters, which means I've got to convince them they're the greatest thing in the world. And so even when they were young, we started going on our daddy-daughter date nights. Matter of fact, anybody see the movie Ice Age? Yeah, should have won an Oscar. And when it came out, my daughter's in third grade, so I'm like, hey, let's do a daddy-daughter date night. Let's the three of us go to see Ice Age, okay? And so it's a school night. They get their homework done early, and we go, and we're going to the theater. And so we go, on the way there, we stop at Taco Bell and buy a whole bunch of food to sneak into the theater. Watch this. Raise your hand if you ever do this. Good. That's good. Good job. That's good stewardship, okay? And we still spent the $7,000 on one bucket of popcorn, but we had the brought us other food in, okay? And we're sitting kind of midway back, and we eat all of our food. Movie's really fun to watch. And then the whole last half of the movie, I'm sitting here, and I put my arm around Christy and my arm around Leslie, and we're watching this movie just with them, head on my shoulders, and I'm going, there is nowhere else I would want to be. And they know it. And so we just kept going on daddy and daughter date nights. And then we went on a daddy and daughter lunch one time. And I said, you know what I'm thinking? I caught him early. I said, I'm thinking about, like, if a guy asks you out, he should probably have lunch with me before you guys go out. And here's my rationale. If a guy's too big of a wimp to have lunch with dad, he's too wimpy to date you. They were like, that makes sense. So I said, what advice would you give guys, like, about a date? And I still have the napkin. I wrote all this kind of stuff. And so for the next years, every time a guy asked about there, I go, hey, I'd love to go with you and have lunch with my dad. I had a ball talking to these guys. It was great, just getting to know them. The closer you are to a person, the greater your potential for impact. That makes sense? Okay. And so start with stability because they're changing so much. Second is cultivate close connection because the closer you are to somebody, the greater your potential. Number 3 is this: expose them to significant examples and events. Expose them to significant examples and significant events. Now, I'm gonna tie that to point 4, but here's what I want to say. So many parents go up and they go, here's what they say. They go, I was a good example. So why did my kids go off the rails? Because when they're young, kind of all they need is for you to be a really good example, okay? As they get older, they need more examples than you, and they need more experiences than just being with mom and dad. Make sense? And so they need some jaw-dropping experiences. That's why, like this summer up at Bayside, we had 140 high school students hired and working for us full-time everywhere. That was an experience. Same thing. You guys go to Mexico with teenagers, right? Awesome. We do the same thing. And I had a dad Granite Bay, the wealthy area up there. Our first church was there. This dad's talking to me, and he looks at me and he goes, okay, I know you guys go to Mexico. I know you take 1,000 people. I know you take secure, all that kind of stuff. He looks right at me and goes, I'm thinking about letting my sophomore daughter go. Can you guarantee me it will be safe? Can you guarantee me it will be safe? And I look at the dad and I say, what would you say? No. I said, I can't guarantee it'll be safe driving home. But I looked at him and said, it will be much safer from everything I know about teenage development for you to let her go down to Mexico and learn that God is real and learn that God can change her and learn that she's got gifts and learn that God can use her and unleash compassion through her. She'll become the kind of person you dream. It'll be much safer to have her in those experiences than it ever will be for you to shelter her in rich Granite Bay and she never discovers that stuff. Make sense? Okay, so expose them to significant examples and significant events. We do a conference called Thrive up there. We will cut it off this year at 4,000 people. People will come from every state, about 10 different countries. And it's crazy. We bring in comedians. We bring in worship bands. We have 700. It's a leadership conference for everybody. It's a 2-day thing, first week in May. If you're a high school student, would you raise your hand? Good. My advice is cut school and come to Thrive. Cut school in Jesus' name, come to Thrive. If you're here with your parents, tell them to pay for it. It will blow your mind. Or better, bring them, okay? It's a job. I took my kids out of school every year and brought them to Thrive. Matter of fact, one time they went, adults are way more fun than teenagers. And one time they said to Carol and I, your friends are way cooler than our friends. That's what you want them to discover, because then they don't get stuck thinking teenage years are all there are. Make sense? And now the last one is this: point them to the future. Point them to the future. I love the words of Jesus. Neither do I condemn you. Go and leave your life of sin. Fundamentally, you're going to be failure-focused or you're going to be future-focused. And maybe I'll give you this example on this one because it ties the Mexico trip. We take 1,000 teenagers to Mexico. I'm up speaking, and I give this message about let go. Hebrews chapter 11 and 12 say, let go of the things that entangle you and the sin that kind of messes your life up. And I give this message about let go, let go, let go. And I look at them and say, some of you are dating a person that is tearing you down instead of building you up. And they are driving you away from God instead of closer to God. If you're dating that person, let them go. Some of you got habits or attitudes, bitterness, let it go. As a matter of fact, some of you actually have been getting deeply involved in alcohol or drugs. Matter of fact, some of you in here, there's 1,000 of you, some of you need that stuff so bad, you actually brought drugs down here and snuck them in here. And I said, let it go. Matter of fact, I said, if you got alcohol and drugs and you snuck that stuff down here, then it will never take you where you want to go. I said, I got the sure cure. Give your life to Christ. And then I said, look over there. And we had a line of about 20 different baños. Anybody know what those are? Outdoor bathrooms in Mexico. And I just said, go over there after this chapel. It's a night chapel. Take your flashlight over. Commit your life to Christ and decide you're letting it go. Take all your alcohol, all your drugs, go in there, open the toilet seat, point down and see what's already in there, because it's been in the hot Mexican sun for a week. I said, just look down there, drop all your alcohol, drop all your drugs. And if you need that so bad, you're tempted to go after it later, come see me, you got a problem. Well, what happens is this, is about 11 o'clock at night, the thing disperses, all these kids make commitments to Christ and to letting stuff go. And I'll never forget this. I'm sitting at the end of the stage and these 3 really cool teenage kids comes up, all good looking, just with it kids. They come up, 2 guys, 2 sophomores and a junior, 2 girls and a guy. And they go, can we talk to you? I go, yep. And they had gone back to their tents and come back. And they said, we committed our lives to Christ tonight. We also committed our lives to live with integrity. And we realized if we hold this stuff on, it's going to wreck us. And they said, so here. And they hand me this huge stash of drugs. And I'm looking at this going, I did not inhale. I'm looking at this stuff. And so I handed it back to them, okay? And I said, follow me. And they all went in the outhouse and they all dropped that stuff in permanently. And then gathered them up, wrapped my arms around them and prayed for them and for their futures, all this kind of stuff. And you could feel these teenagers going, it was like they were lighter. It was like finally nobody wakes up and goes, I'd like to become a drug addict. Nobody's going to life. Okay. And you could feel these teenagers going, I got a future. I got hope. I got Christ in my life, all this kind of stuff. Like everything changed. But I sat there, it's about midnight now, and I watched these 3 kids with the Mexican moon shining down, walking back to their tent. And I just thought to myself, would you agree? Those kids just saved themselves and their parents from a lifetime of heartache. Would you agree? Jesus's words, when put into action, neither do I condemn you. Now, let's change everything. They are as good now as they were then. If God brought some of you here to this, let it go. But these words ring as true today. And with teenagers, that's the kind of stuff that happens when they experience a massive, significant event. Now, I know this is, are they all still with me? Good, because I'm done. You want to come up? I want to say a couple things in closing. Number one is this. I know this is like taking a drink from a fire hose. This is a really, really, really big deal to me. We have people fleeing the state of California only to discover everywhere else is kind of like this. Makes sense? With lower taxes. It's a culture thing. It's a country thing. It's a California thing. And so I hope this helps you parents. On the way home, just look at your parents and say, boy, you really needed that. The last thing I want to say is this. Should I introduce these? Whenever I come, I bring books because when you think well, you live well, love well, and lead well. Make sense? And so there's 2 books here. This is a book I wrote called Hope Quotient. Okay. And this is a big deal. If you've never read it, just trust me and grab it, or grab a bunch of them, lead a small group, or give it away. I read a bunch of stuff on hope, and I went, it's all trite. And this book was a research project that took 7 years. We surveyed 1,000 people every state. What we discovered in this book, Hope Quotient, we discovered that there are 7 things that if you build them into your life, you have rising levels of hope. And if you don't build them in your life, you have literally no hope and probably no future. It's the only thing I know that will get people unlocked and have an unlimited future, okay? It's the 7 things I tried to pray in and build into my kids, our church. This is kind of cool. When this came out, it hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, okay? Because most business people were going, man, if I don't have a rising level of hope, I have no future, and neither does my company, okay? And so this is out there, and we'll give one to Dad here. There you go. And then this one, that book was written to encourage people. I wanted to write a book to challenge people. Okay. And you know any Christians that actually don't take it seriously? I wrote a book called Jesus Called, He Wants His Church Back. And this is the invitation to follow the Jesus of the Bible. And there's a matter of fact, this is a whole thing, like chapters in here or things like this. If you want to walk on water, you got to get off your couch. And it's a challenge to live a life that actually matters, okay? And so if you're going, my faith has been in neutral, I need something to kickstart it, we get this, and this is for your son. Catch, dude. There you go. By the way, you're selling those outside. I'll be out there. I'll autograph those for you if you want, or if you're buying a bunch of them, people will personalize to them. It'll drop the value, but it'll mean something. Happy to be there. The last thing I want to say is this. I love this church. This is so great. Your pastor's awesome. Thanks for having me. God bless.
Give it up for Pastor Ray, everybody.